You're listening to the Show We Go Baseball podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 31 of To the Show We Go. We have Chris Henrique today with myself, Andrew Parker. We have another Worcester Red Sox on the show today. It might be our fifth or sixth. I feel like we've had quite a few guys on so far. But we have Justin Hagenman on today. Now, Justin, before we dive into baseball-related stuff in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to ask you, like, how has your offseason been? What kind of things you've been up to? And I guess, like, since the break, how's it been going for yourself?
Yeah, it's been really good. The season ended in Lehigh Valley, so then I headed home. I'm from New Jersey, so it was pretty close. And then from there, I came right down to Florida, where I just got a house down here. So it's been pretty hectic with moving in, but other than that, the training and all the baseball aspects and everything like that has been going really well. So it's been a good start to the off season.
And I had kind of talked with you a little bit after you came over in the trade, and I remember I had kind of asked you, your thoughts on the trade and all that stuff. But now that you've kind of had a little bit to decompress after the season ended, changed orgs, it's probably been a long year for you just playing in two different organizations. But what was, looking back, I guess, what are your thoughts on the season and I guess the move and getting acquainted to a new locker room and organization?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty apparent early on that although it was different, it was, that group made it pretty easy to get acclimated. Right away, there was plenty of people reaching out and kind of introducing themselves and putting themselves out there if I had any questions. So that part was very easy. And then I think I said it before, but that group was very good in Worcester. So that was good. The staff was great. So the transition was as smooth as it went. Like you said, it ended up being a pretty long season, but they all are at some point or another. So this was like a little shake up midway through, which, kind of got me going a little bit more again. So, but all in all, it was very good. I'm happy to be here with the Red Sox, and it was as good of a start as I could have imagined. So it turned out good. The year turned out well.
When you got traded, because I know we talked with you, probably, I don't know, maybe like a day after you got there. We usually don't have to go and bombard you guys the second that you guys arrive. But just for people who are going to listen, what is it like the day that you find out you've been traded? What, separate from just, hey, I'm going to another organization, what's that day like? How is it communicated? Like, what are some of the things you just did that day? Like, what goes through your head? Because I don't think people really put a lot into that. They just like, oh, this dude got traded, now they're on this team. Where there's another side of it for you guys that you have to do in addition to report and then play baseball.
Yeah, so I mean, we had just gotten on the road. We were just on a road trip. We just started. I think it was Tuesday. The trade was. So I had just gotten to the field. I think I just started stretching and getting ready to prep to go throw. The manager pulled me in and told me the news, or gave me a phone, or told me to answer the phone because there was some news. And then they told me, and then from there everybody there was pretty happy for me. I've been with a lot of those guys for a handful of years, so everybody on that Dodgers end was pretty happy for me. Just said the goodbyes, and then I think that night or a little bit later, got the flight information for the next morning, and it was a super early flight. Me and Nick got the flight at maybe like 6, and then got into Boston that day. And we luckily we didn't have to do anything that day. I think there was like a doubleheader earlier in the day, so they were done by the time we had got there. So kind of me and Nick just got dinner, and then it was then it all started the next day, obviously. And you walk into the locker room the first time and you don't know. I think I knew 2 people, luckily, but Nick didn't know anybody. And then you just don't know any faces, and then you're getting introduced to literally everyone there, and to remember all these names, and it's just like it's overwhelming at first, but the more you go about it, and then the more you play and you watch one game, and you're like, oh, okay, he was our shortstop that came up to me the first minute. He started the game. He was the one that came up to me and said hello here. So you start to recognize who everyone is, and then after a day or so, you're right in there with the guys, because any team is pretty similar. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all baseball players, so we're all similar in some ways.
And you had started you started 3 years at Penn State, and then you even made starts this year in Oklahoma City. I think you had 5 or so in the season. And when you came over to Worcester, you kind of were just used strictly out of the bullpen. So what has, I guess, the transition been like? And I mean, what's that role like? Because you kind of have like a hybrid role where it's like you were starting games as lately as this season in Oklahoma City. So it's, I guess, how has that been adapting to like a hybrid type role?
So yeah, like you said, going back to college, I had never relieved in my life. High school, college, I never really relieved. It was always starting. Luckily enough, even all 3 years freshman year, I was starting right away, so it was nice. And then I got drafted, and they kind of had me in like that type of role where it'd be stretched out, but not starting. And then my first full year in 2019, it was pretty much full relief for the first time. It would be maybe a couple innings, but so that was really the year that I had to adapt the most, I would say, kind of learn how I needed to get ready to relieve instead of throwing once a week or once every 6 days. So that was the year that kind of got me going on that side of it. And it was tough. It was very tough. Just because I had never gone into a game not knowing I was going to throw or not. So that was probably the toughest part. And then, I had a good year that year, and I thought, I got it. And then I guess 2021, we missed 2020 for COVID. And then 2021, I had like more of an actual relief role. Like it wasn't 4 innings here or, long relief. It was more of a 1 to 2, maybe 2+, and that was it, like a normal relief role. And I threw really well. The velo kind of ticked up. So then I kind of settled into the relief role, and then same thing for 22. And then this year we had a lot of injuries and a lot of starter injuries and a lot of call-ups in OKC. And then they just threw me in the starter role, and they were like, give us what you can. And that was one of those things. I loved it. I thought, kind of came right back to me, the whole prep and how you're going to get ready for a game and how you're going to attack a hitter more than once, which I think that's the biggest difference, kind of how you're going to attack the lineup or how you're going to use your stuff. I think that the prep and the routine and all that, you can talk to guys and figure out what they do, and then you figure out what works best for you pretty easily. But the difficult part is like the actual baseball part, where you're facing a hitter 3 times in one game, and it's like, all right, I need to get this guy out the 3rd time because he had me fooled the first 2 times. So, but those are the only things that you. And I mean, everybody's still working on them, even in the major leagues, the best pitchers. So it's, I'm not alone on that one, I feel like.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to follow up to that. And I remember going into Chad Tracy's office, a pregame. I think it was maybe a day or 2 after you were acquired. And I always liked asking him a question when guys would come up from Portland or come from out of the, a free agent signing or whatever, or trade. And I kind of asked him, they said, oh, like, what do you envision the role being when Robertson and Hagenman get here? And he pointed out that for you, he liked your versatility, that it's like, you could spot start if they actually, because they had plenty of injuries, call-ups, guys coming up and down. And so did they give you, like, when you got traded, when you were on the phone with, whoever from the Red Sox system, did they were like, hey, we're going to have you do this and kind of settle in on a role?
I think they said that I was just going to, I was going to be in the bullpen. I was going to relieve And then shortly after I had gotten there, they said, we're going to stretch you out into multiple innings. So I knew I did have more of a defined role than it wasn't just blind, you're just going to start throwing 3 innings. So yeah, they told me that I was going to relieve. And then I think to get my feet wet a little bit, I think I threw like 1 inning the first couple times. And then from there on out, it was pretty much multi-inning appearances. So yeah, I knew I knew the role.
You're you got a little bit of time with Paul Abbott. We talked with Grant Gambrill the other day, just kind of get his thoughts on it. Obviously not be back with the WooSox next season. Just kind of like your quick thoughts on, getting to work with Abbott and, has the Red Sox like indicate, I'm not asking who the pitching coach is, but indicated to you, hey, are you going to continue to still work on some of the stuff that he had you, focus on while you were with him in Worcester?
So when I got there halfway through the year, or a little more than halfway through the year, we didn't really like change too much. I think it was like for the first couple weeks, it was basically like, we're going to watch you and, do what you've been doing. I was having a pretty good year, at that point. So it was like, all right, well, we'll let you keep going, and do your thing for a little bit. And then I think he just wanted to watch and see how I went about things. And then from there, it was, a couple of suggestions. There was never anything like, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that. But it was more like, maybe try this or maybe try that. So we got along. He kind of has that like old school mentality as the coach. So, as long as you had a plan, I feel like he was pretty happy with it. And then, yeah, I liked my time with Abby. But other than that, I'm not positive, just because I guess spring training is more or less the time you like kind of bring new things into the fold, or bring new things in and try out new things. So, I'm not positive on what the changes or what the improvements are in that aspect are.
And your season, we talked about a little bit earlier in the interview, but you had a very good season between Oklahoma City and then I even looked, and I think it was like your last like 8-9 appearances in Worcester. You were I don't know if it was scoreless or what it was, but I was just looking at it. You had a pretty good stretch coming down to the end of the season. And obviously with news coming, like, I guess we're at that point of the off season where it's, it's Rule 5 time. So it's, there's been a ton of news about like, who's guys getting added and not protected and all this. And when did that ever hit your mind? Like in the season or towards the off season, be like, okay, I'm Rule 5 eligible this off season, and like I could be playing somewhere else next year?
Probably not too much. I think until it happens, it's kind of like the trade. Until something like that happens, it's not really quite on my mind. I don't know about how other people feel about it, but I kind of like, while I was with the Dodgers. I didn't really have any, thoughts of, thinking that it was going to be me getting traded at any point. So pretty much the same thing. It's, you are where you are, and then if something happens, you kind of adapt and figure it out from there. So, yeah, I never really thought of it that way.
Do you think there's a chance that you're going to get added to the 40-man roster before the deadline today?
I haven't heard anything, so not my call exactly. So I have not a clue in the world.
Yeah, I was always curious about that because we had like Nick Sogard on, we had Steven Scott, a few other guys that are eligible, and some of them are, I feel like we've gotten like a mixed bag where I think like Scotty was kind of like with you, it's like it's not in my control, can't really it's not something that we can really dictate. So
it's kind of at least. I was gonna say it's kind of a mixed bag with the players we've talked to, though. There are some guys who've taken your exact approach that have just been like, nothing I can do either way, right? You get picked if you know what I mean? So, and there's some other guys that are just super honed in and being like, they, want to know all the ins and outs and what's going to happen, that uncertainty or whatever. So it's intriguing to see the different mindsets that you guys have. It kind of just goes to show, again, we try to tell people when they're listening, there's more to you guys than what you do on the field. You know what I mean? There's different mindsets and everything else.
Yeah, I think the Rule 5 is a great opportunity. But in the end of the day, you have to show up to spring training and be as good as you can be in spring training, whether here, there, or wherever. So it doesn't really change anything at this point for me. It kind of would. The only thing that would change is where I report and when I report. So it's, it doesn't really change anything about how I'm going about anything in the off season. So I guess that's why it's easy for me to think of it that way.
All right, so I'm going to go off the baseball field for a second here. You're down in Florida. You said you just bought a house down there. Mm-hmm. Are you into golf at all?
A little bit. I only started golfing probably 2020, 2021. And then I got okay 2022, like off season. And that year, unfortunately, haven't really had the opportunity to golf yet this year with just getting everything settled. But my goal is to, yes, be very into it.
I feel like every single guy that we talk to this offseason in the Red Sox system, every single one of them are talking about like, oh yeah, been golfing a ton. Like, yeah. It's a thing to do, man. It's kind of crazy since COVID happened. That's mm-hmm. Took off.
Yeah. I think once I get into pro ball, I had a little extra time in the off season. So it's the perfect thing to do. And then down here I work out in the mornings and then have the whole rest of the day. So when you got the nice weather, it's take advantage of it. It's either beach or find golf or find something to do. So you want to be outside a little bit anyway.
I want to Chris, if you got one,
I'll go off with the one off here because you were talking about the golf, but like when you're not playing, are you a concert guy? Do you like to go to shows, stuff like that? What's something about you that fans should know? Yeah. And if you do go to concerts, what kind of music?
I used to go to a handful of concerts back in high school, college when I had the more free time in the summers. A lot of them were the outdoor summers, but mostly country concerts. I think I've been to a couple rock, but mostly country. I actually tried to go to Zach Brown Band the other week, but there was an issue, and StubHub never gave me my tickets. I don't know. It was a whole thing, but yeah, I haven't been to any this year. Kind of down here though, yeah, mainly just the beach. Kind of go out to eat, hang out with a bunch of the guys that I know in the area, do whatever. So yeah, it's been. I'm always down for everything. Not too much fishing or anything like that, but just kind of hanging out.
Now, I have some one-offs that I'm going to ask you a little later, but I had to ask about where you work out, Cressy. Mm-hmm. Chris even sent me over a photo too that there was a photo uploaded on. I know you're not a Twitter/X guy. I don't think you have an account out there, but Cressy uploaded one. It was you, NFL punter Pat O'Donnell, and PGA Tour golf Denny McCarthy all working out in a line. Yeah. That place is absolutely loaded just with baseball players. Like, there's so much talent there. So, like, when you're working out there, is it like, are you kind of like, okay, like, I got to pump up my game because there's like, I don't know, a bunch of studs all around you?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the best things about it. I mean, the trainers are, in my opinion, as good as it gets. The programs they ride are very good. And there's always someone watching. The attention to detail there is very good. I think that's kind of what draws everyone there. And then you walk in and it's major league vet here, major leaguer here, all-star here. So, and I've been going there for since 2015, I guess. So, I think the first couple times I walked in down here in Florida in like 2019, 2020. It's 10-year vets everywhere. And it's like, how do you feel like you're in the wrong place when there's the kind of people around you? So immediately it's like, yeah, that's where I need to be. If these guys are doing it, you feel like you're in the right place. And then by this point, I've been coming here a handful of years. So it's like, now you know a handful of these guys. And I think that's pretty cool too. So yeah, it's the crowd there is unbelievable. And then, like you said, there's there turns out to be NFL guys that come in and golfers that come in, tennis players. So it's like everyone you're seeing a lot of high level athletes. So that definitely helps you go about your business.
And so I have one more baseball one before I hop into some one-offs here. Who was your throwing partner when you came over? Was it Robertson?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get to I found something interesting when we were talking with Gambrel, and he was only up there for I think 2 starts at the end of the year, but he was kind of talking like, he got to pick Kyle Bearclaw's brain and Shane Drohan, Brandon Walter, a bunch of guys that were up there. Did you get the chance to kind of like talk to any of the vets that were in the clubhouse in Worcester?
Yeah. I mean, I talked to everyone. It's easy, and like Grant had said, I guess it's easy to pick the pitcher's brains more so than anyone. So yeah, I talked to Claw a good bit. It's always, those guys that have been up and, done it like that. They have a lot on their mind. They know they've been through a lot. They have a lot of answers. So, Bear Claw, and then anytime, luckily when I was there was a lot of rehab guys. Not luckily for them, but you get to see them and see them go about their business. And I saw, Sale make a couple starts, Garrett Whitlock, Tanner Houck, a couple of those guys there. So it's like those guys that, have that experience there are kind of the ones that you learn the most from, I feel like. So yeah, that was all pretty good for us.
Yeah, I think Grant made a comment to us that was in regards to he liked being around guys that he kind of compared it because he doesn't have the stuff that he's going to hit 100 miles per hour, but he's got guys that are pitchers instead of just like hard throwers, and he liked being around a group like that like the Bear Claws and the Brian Van Bells and guys like that don't really bring 100 miles per hour like Grant himself. And he was just like, it was nice to be around guys like, even Sale. He said when Sale's in the facility, I know he does throw hard, but he's a pitcher though. So
you can learn different things from everybody. I think my favorite part, those guys that are similar to you, it's my favorite part about them is watching them actually pitch versus some of those other guys, watching them, what they do in the weight room, what they do in their prep, what they do in their catch play. Even if they're not as similar to you or very alike, those are the places you can watch some of those guys versus the people that pitch like you. It's easy to watch them pitch and do the things they do on the mound. So that's the difference of who I watch, when I watch, and who you talk to, because you can learn something from anybody if they've been through it a little bit.
Now, Chris, I'm going to hop into some one-offs here. I didn't know if you were thinking of anything over there before I do this.
I'm ready for the one-offs.
Okay. I have a few. There's no wrong answers beside the first question. It's just I've asked it to everybody. You're a New Jersey guy, so I'm very curious actually because I'm just curious. All right, so first question. Go to fast food fried chicken place.
I have Chick-fil-A. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So is there reasoning because of it?
I don't know if that's the one I grew up going to, or just I think it tastes the best. But every time I have it, I think it tastes better than the other ones. I do mix in every time I see the other ones. If I see a Raising Cane's, if I see a Zaxby's, PDQ, I'll eat them, and I'll definitely enjoy them. But Chick-fil-A is always the number one.
Can you rank the sauce, these 3 sauces: Chick-fil-A sauce, Zaxby sauce, and Cane sauce, 1, 2 to 3?
Probably, I do like Cane sauce. Probably Cane sauce 1. I haven't had Zaxby sauce too much. I think that's similar to Cane's, but
they're very close. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I like those a little more because I like the buffalo sauce on the chicken, and then the maybe a little Polynesian sauce, and then I just use the sauces for the fries. Like the Chick-fil-A sauce, that's my fry sauce.
Okay, interesting. I'm a big Zaxby's guy. I was gonna always say I've started to turn we've gotten mostly Cane's on here, followed by Chick-fil-A, then Zaxby's is third. But
I was gonna say so far almost every episode that I've been on with you filling in, it's been Chick-fil-A has been the winner so far. I just
Cane's
like
is up
the
there.
look on your face when when one of these guys goes and says it's Chick-fil-A, just the look on your face of it's never a wrong answer, and I know that's the wrong answer.
I feel like Zaxby's does kind of get sleeped on. I've had that a couple times
man.
recently, and that might be two A and 2B with Cane's for me.
It's all right, man. Zaxby's has my heart. It is what it is. It's just kind of like you said. It's just like what you kind of like. What's the first one you kind of grown up on? So, okay. My second question. I want to know. I'm assuming you watched the football game on Saturday, the Penn State Michigan game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what was your gut reaction watching that game?
Can we get a new offense? I mean, it was bad. Because going into it, you have all the hope in the world that this is the year they do it. They beat a top 5 team, and they get their big win, and they have a chance at the playoff. So you have all the hope, and they just can't move the ball, and their defense plays as good as it does. Which their defense has been unbelievable this year. They kind of locked down Ohio State pretty well at Ohio State. So it's like, all right, maybe they, at home they can lock down Michigan just enough to move the ball, and then they can't move the ball. So that was a little frustrating. And then they just fired their offensive coordinator, so that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, the Penn State team they're good. It's just they're going to go 10-2, and it's kind of been the same story the last couple of years. So. Yeah, it's fun to watch when they're beating the teams, and then they you get the hopes up, and then it just seems to be the same story the last couple of years. So you can't really complain when you're winning 10 games as a team. And then last year they beat Utah, who was a very good team in the Rose Bowl. So it's like they're beating other good teams. It's just the two they need to beat in the conference they haven't done it the last couple of years.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm a Mizzou guy, and we're finally like. Good for once in our life, so it's like I will take winning 10 games and losing to the big guys every year. I'll take that because I don't get that every year.
I can't complain. I think my freshman year when I got there in 2015 was the last year they were pretty bad, and then my sophomore year was the year they had Barkley, McSorley, Gesicki, Godwin. So they were pretty stacked, and then since then they've been good. They've had a lot of these 8 to 10 win years, couple wins against the big teams, and so it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised up here in Patriot Land they're not calling for Trace McSorley to come back on the team because they had him earlier in the year. But I am curious. I am curious though. I guess I don't really watch too much Big Ten baseball. I am so curious, like what what playing in the Big Ten was like for baseball, because obviously like Big Ten is definitely a basketball conference. It is, and I love watching Big Ten basketball. It's one of my favorite to watch. And then obviously like we were just talking about football, it's kind of like but baseball, I want to know like kind of like what the vibe is like, I guess like what competition is like in the Big Ten.
Yeah, when I was there, there was always a top team or two in the conference that was like really good. And it was weird. That changed every year. That seemed to change. I think Michigan was really good one year. Minnesota was really good one year. Iowa was really good one year. So weirdly enough, it changed every year. Maybe that's just part of the Big Ten, and you got to get the right group of guys. But it was pretty top loaded, I would say. We at Penn State, we definitely struggled in my time there. I think my freshman year was our only year that we were over 500. Didn't make the conference tournament when I was there. So we struggled big time. But the top teams I thought were very good. And we played a couple SEC teams. We went out west a little bit. So we played some top teams, and I thought the top teams in the Big Ten when I was there, were as good as any of the other ones we played. So I would say it may not be as deep as some of the other conferences, but the top teams seemed to be very good when I was there.
All right, Chris. I have a few baseball related stuff left. What do you have anything, any one-offs or anything you want to add?
Well, I don't bring anything to the table when it comes to college stuff because I can't get into college. I try. It's too many teams, too many players. I can't do it. And being from the Northeast, like, I mean, from New Jersey, but like for me, Massachusetts, there's, Boston College, UConn. I'll stick with the pro sports. Do you have any, what's your football team?
The Eagles. I grew up on all Philly sports.
Okay.
So, the Eagles.
Yeah, no, I'm big on the Eagles right now. Jalen Hurts is my quarterback in fantasy. So, but bye week, I got a big week from Dak Prescott this week, so I can't be complaining. Did you get a chance, or have you ever gone to with the Phillies in the postseason to experience the bank the way that it is and how loud that it gets?
Yeah, I mean, I went to the games back in their stretch when they were good when I was growing up. Where they won the 5 divisions in a row. So yeah, that was good. It didn't seem to be as much of a narrative in the media as it is right now. These past 2 years, it was always very electric and the atmosphere was really good. But now it's kind of, they got that narrative, and once the fans heard about that narrative, they go even more and make it even louder and go even crazier. So, but yeah, it was always a good experience. I think I went to a couple World Series games back in the day in like 2009 when they played the Yankees, a couple playoff games in the other years. So yeah, I was always going to games growing up.
All right, Chris, I don't know if any.
I mean,
any more
my only other one-off question that I've been asking. Well, it's been 2 of them. One, with Thanksgiving's coming up, do you have a certain side dish that is your go-to, must be on the table for you to enjoy?
Not really. I'm pretty basic. It seems controversial now. I do like the turkey. I do like the turkey. Eat the stuffing. It's all good. It's all good. It's a good day to get full.
You can't really complain with it. And it's there was a hot take, but I forgot who it was. Maybe somebody a couple episodes ago was talking about the stuffing thing, that they love it and they would eat it anytime. And my fiance makes stuffing in July. Like, I'm telling you,
time as well.
It's freaking insane, man.
I'm with them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
All right, so I wanted to kind of go a different direction here. We've talked to a few guys in the system. There's a ton, and you know where this question's going because I asked you about it, or maybe it was another guy in the clubhouse. But there is a ton of Texas guys in the system, especially in Worcester. I mean, you had Shug and Hamilton that were actually Texas guys, and then there's some guys down in Double A as well. But are you guys planning on the New Jersey guys? Are you guys planning on having a whole corner in the clubhouse once you get to spring training? Because there is a ton of you guys now.
Yeah. We probably should. And that was the other thing. I got there, and I think I said I knew a couple guys. But then you get there and you meet. Oh, you're like, Polidi's from New Jersey, and then Joe Jakes comes down. He's from New Jersey. It's like it's just seemed to be a ton of guys. And then Dearden gets called up late in the year. I was like, oh, I remember him from high school. So it's like, that New Jersey thing. You always have that in common. Which is nice. It's just, even if you don't know, even if you never played against them or played with them, it's like you have that in common. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the question I had asked one of you guys, either Politi, Jakes, you, I couldn't remember, but it was kind of like, New Jersey's not known for the baseball. It's just not like Texas is known for their baseball. Like, let's just be honest, but it's like you guys have some serious representation in there. So definitely need to be getting a New Jersey corner in that clubhouse in Fort Myers. And we have Joe Jakes on tomorrow as well for an episode. So
awesome.
I know we're definitely going to be talking with him because he is New Jersey through and through, and that guy has so much pride in where he grew up, man. It's awesome.
As you should.
Yeah. All right. So I guess so this offseason, do you kind of have like any obviously we were talking about you working out at Cressy and everything, but do you have like any goals in mind that you're trying to hit, like body weight or velo or anything like that for getting ready for next season?
Not body weight, just overall strength. Always want to increase overall strength while staying healthy is always number one. Stay on the field as long as you can, as many games you can. So that's number one. And then anytime you can add velo, that's always a plus. No matter what, no matter how you do it, any way you can add velo is important. So ideally I throw harder. I'm doing things to try to throw harder, unlock new things every day. But other than that, kind of have a healthy off season and come in, kind of hammer down some of the things I was working on last year with, the cutter was a new pitch for me last year. So kind of hammer that down, hammer the breaking ball down. Fastball changeup have always been my two pitches. So, anytime we can bring up the other pitches and make them any bit better, that helps. So once the bullpens start, figure out the fastball changeup again and then improve on the other pitches.
And so what was the thought process, I guess, behind adding, you said with the cutter was new. I guess, what was your thought process on adding that to your mix? And then how do you feel that it's gone since you've added that?
Mainly to neutralize lefties. My fastball runs, my changeup runs, and my slider wasn't really a strikeout pitch to a lefty as much as it was to righty or an out pitch to lefty. So just another pitch to go into a lefty and move more like the fastball, and be closer to speed as the fastball and just kind of neutralize the lefties.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like, with I remember talking with Jakes during the course of the season before he got called up, and he was kind of talking about, all his pitches kind of run in. And he was kind of talking about he was trying to add a pitch that was he could get both guys on both sides of the plate out. So it's always interesting to hear why a certain pitch is added and what you've kind of seen from it so far.
Yeah, especially in the role that I've been in this last year, where you, like I was talking about earlier, you're facing hitters multiple times. So even if a fastball away works or a fastball changeup combo away works, it might not work the next time because they might be diving away. Or these 6-game series, you're facing, you're facing a team 2 to 3 times a week. And in my role, you're bound to face the hitter 2 to 3 times in the week. So just for that aspect, it was pretty important to have as many pitches that you can rely on as possible.
So I got, you've given us a ton of your time, so we definitely appreciate that. I got one more for you, because something that came up in when I referenced when Grant was on, he said one of the craziest things I've heard a pitcher say so far about, did you appear in the Norfolk series towards the end of the year?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. And that stacked lineup, I mean, they went on to win the championship.
Right.
So yes. He kind of has a good reason why he doesn't really know who the other guys on the other team were. He didn't really know who Kobe Mayo was. He didn't know who Kurt Stad, I think, was on the team at the time. He didn't really know all their top prospects. And so he said he kind of goes into it he doesn't care if they were drafted in the first round or the 40th round, whenever that was a thing. He's going to attack them the same way. So what is your thought process like, I guess, whenever you have, so say I don't think Jackson Holiday was there at the time, but say he was, and you're facing a guy like that. Is that in your back of your mind? You're like, this guy is going to be playing in the majors next year and I'm facing him? Or is it more of I'm just going to treat this like any other guy?
At this point, it's not in my mind. I guess when I first got to AAA, that was the first time I had consistently faced hitters that had been in the major leagues. And you face hitters that had been in the major leagues a lot and had a lot of success in the major leagues. And it's all right, well, I'm facing Jose Altuve, or whoa, I'm facing Nelson Cruz. And it's all right, that's kind of crazy. And then you get them out and it's all right, well, if I can get those guys out, I can get anyone out. And then you face a guy that just gets called up from AA who's on a heater and he's hitting 500 over the last week and you can't get him out. So it's at the end of the day, hitters at that level are all pretty good. So it's you got to attack them with your best stuff. You can't really be nervous about who's in the box. You can be aware of who's in the box. You know that top prospect has power. Maybe don't give him stuff to hit when runners on, or stuff like that. But you can be aware, but it's not like it shouldn't change what you're doing, I guess. And I feel like that's kind of how I've gone about it recently.
Okay. Yeah. I was curious because I'd never heard any other guy say it kind of like he did. Because he was away from baseball for 2 years with COVID and with surgeries on his ankle. So he kind of had a different, I guess, a unique situation, but I was curious about that. I had one final question before I let you go, but I never saw you get in on the ping pong table in Worcester. Are you planning on making a debut? Unless you did, and I just didn't see it. But those guys are absolutely nuts in there. So are you going to be practicing this offseason?
I've always been adequate at ping pong. I've never been, above average. So I could probably hold my own for a little bit. But I didn't want to get up there and get embarrassed because, you have 50 on the table and you're not going to get a point. I don't want to do that. So I'm pretty competitive about everything. And I like to win a lot. So if I'm not going to stand my chance, I'm not the biggest fan. So I'll have to work my way in with, certain guys. I think that's my goal for next year. Work my way in with my talent level and then go from there.
Yeah, it's you should pair up with Scotty, Steven Scott. He had that same thing where I asked him, I'm like, why did you never get in on the table? He said he got there the first day and he saw how crazy AJ Pulido and a couple of those Christian Koss and some of those guys. He's like, I'm all set on that.
Yeah. And my locker last year was right next to the crossfire. You had like one locker over was getting pelted all the time. So I really saw what happened. And I was like, I don't know if I want to return that one yet.
I felt bad for Ryan Fernandez and Jake's went before he got called up. He was in that seat, man. I'm like, whew, man.
Exactly. So I saw that happen and I was like, I'm not returning that one. And maybe next year I'll be ready, but not yet.
Yeah. Well, Justin, we thank you so much. You've given us 42 minutes of your time. So we appreciate it, and we'll be seeing you in the Ford in February. So and then in Worcester. So thank you for your time.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.